5 months ago, I was not the person you see today. I remember sitting alone, listening to English conversations and understanding almost nothing. I knew some English words, but when I tried to speak, my mind became empty. I was afraid of making mistakes, and I was afraid that people would laugh at my English. But one day, I made a decision I would stop being afraid and start practicing. Every single day, I listened to English, repeated sentences, learned new words, and spoke even when my grammar was not perfect. I made many mistakes, but every mistake helped me become better. After 5 months of consistent practice, something changed. English was no longer a scary subject for me. I started understanding conversations, speaking with more confidence, and enjoying the process of learning. Today, I want to share my complete journey with you, the struggles, the habits, and the simple methods that helped me improve my English in just 5 months. So, if you are a beginner who dreams of speaking English confidently, stay with me until the end, because this story might change the way you learn English. I still remember the first day I truly realized that I needed to improve my English. English was everywhere around me. I could hear people speaking English in movies, on the internet, in videos, and in conversations. I saw people communicating confidently, and I always asked myself, why can't I speak like them? The biggest problem was not that I didn't know any English words. I knew some basic words and simple sentences, but speaking was a completely different challenge. Whenever I wanted to speak English, many thoughts came into my mind. Is my pronunciation correct? Am I using the right grammar? What will people think if I make a mistake? Because of these questions, I stayed quiet many times. I had ideas in my mind, but I couldn't express them in English. Sometimes I listened to native speakers, and they spoke so naturally and quickly. I felt like English was too difficult for me. I thought maybe some people were just born with a talent for languages, and maybe I was not one of those people. But later, I discovered something important. Learning English is not about being talented. It is about having the right habits and practicing every day. At the beginning of my journey, I made many mistakes. I forgot words, I created wrong sentences, and my pronunciation was not perfect. Sometimes I felt frustrated because I wanted to improve faster. There were days when I wanted to stop. I asked myself, am I really making progress? But deep inside, I knew that if I gave up, nothing would change. So I made a promise to myself. I would not wait until my English was perfect before speaking. I would learn step by step, make mistakes, and continue improving. I started looking at English differently. Instead of seeing it as a difficult subject, I started seeing it as a skill, just like learning how to ride a bicycle. At first, you fall many times, but with practice, you become better. That was the beginning of my English journey. I was not fluent. I was not confident. I was just a beginner with a dream to speak English without fear. And that small decision to keep going became the first step toward changing my English forever. After accepting that English was a skill I could learn, I started searching for a better way to improve. I realized that the biggest mistake many beginners make is waiting for the perfect time to start speaking. They think I will speak English when my grammar is perfect, or I will practice when I know more words. But I learned that confidence comes from practice, not from waiting. So I created a simple daily routine for myself. I decided that I would spend time with English every single day, even if it was only for a short time. The first thing I did was improve my listening skills. Every day, I listened to English conversations, podcasts, and short videos. At the beginning, I understood only a few words. Sometimes I listened to the same sentence many times because I wanted to understand the pronunciation and meaning, but I didn't give up. I discovered a powerful technique called shadowing. I listened to a sentence from a native speaker, paused the audio, and repeated the same sentence with the same pronunciation and emotion. At first, it felt strange. My voice did not sound natural, and I made many mistakes. But slowly, my mouth became more comfortable with English sounds. The second thing I did was learn vocabulary in a smarter way. Instead of memorizing hundreds of random words, I focused on words and phrases that people use in daily conversations. I learned how to use each word in a sentence because I wanted to speak, not just remember definitions. For example, I didn't only learn the word improve, I learned sentences like, I want to improve my English. I'm improving every day. This helped me think in English, instead of translating everything from my first language. The third habit was speaking practice. Even when nobody was around me, I talked to myself in English. I described my day, my plans, and my thoughts. Sometimes I made mistakes, but I continued because every sentence helped me become better. I also started watching English content with subtitles. I didn't just watch for entertainment. I watched to learn how people express their ideas naturally. The most important thing I learned was consistency. I didn't improve because I studied for 10 hours in one day. I improved because I practiced every day for 5 months. Small steps, repeated every day, created a big change. My English journey was not magic. There was no secret shortcut. The secret was simple: listen more, speak more, learn every day, and never be afraid of mistakes. That daily routine slowly changed my confidence and brought me closer to my goal of speaking English fluently. Learning English for 5 months was not always easy. Many people see the final result and think, wow, this person improved so quickly, but they don't see the difficult moments, the frustration, and the struggles behind that progress. During my journey, I faced many challenges. The first challenge was fear. I was afraid to speak because I thought people would judge me. I worried about my pronunciation, my grammar, and my mistakes. Sometimes I knew what I wanted to say, but I stopped myself because I was scared of saying it incorrectly. But then I realized something important. Every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Nobody starts speaking perfectly. Mistakes are not proof that you are failing. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. The second challenge was staying consistent. There were days when I felt tired. There were days when I didn't want to practice. Sometimes I asked myself, am I really improving, or am I just wasting my time? But I remembered my goal. I wanted to communicate confidently. I wanted to understand people and express my ideas in English. So even on difficult days, I tried to do something small. Maybe I listened to a short podcast, learned a few new words, or practiced speaking for a few minutes. I learned that progress does not always happen quickly. Sometimes you improve without noticing it. One day, you suddenly realize that you understand a conversation that was impossible for you before. Another challenge was comparing myself with others. I saw people who spoke English fluently, and sometimes I felt behind. I wondered why they were better than me. But I learned that everyone has a different journey. Instead of comparing myself to others, I started comparing myself to my old self. Was I better than yesterday? Was my pronunciation improving? Was my confidence growing? Those questions helped me stay motivated. I also struggled with pronunciation. Some English sounds were difficult. I had to listen carefully and repeat many times. Sometimes, I had to say the same sentence 20 or 30 times until it felt natural. But every repetition was building a new skill. The biggest lesson I learned from my challenges was this: you don't need to be perfect to start. You need to start to become better. English is not learned in one day. It is built through small actions repeated every day. The difficult moments did not stop me. They made me stronger, more patient, and more confident. And those challenges became an important part of my 5-month English journey. After 5 months of hard work, daily practice, and many challenges, I started noticing something different. The biggest change was not only my English level. The biggest change was my confidence. Before, I was afraid to speak. I always thought about mistakes before opening my mouth. But now, I learned that communication is more important than perfection. I started understanding English conversations better. Words that once sounded difficult became familiar. Sentences that once confused me started making sense. I remember moments when I listened to English videos and suddenly understood the meaning without translating every word in my mind. That feeling was amazing because I knew my hard work was finally creating results. My speaking also improved. I became more comfortable creating sentences and expressing my thoughts. I stopped waiting for the perfect sentence and started focusing on sharing my ideas. The journey also changed my mindset. I discovered that learning English is not only about language. It teaches you patience, discipline, and confidence. When you improve a little every day, you realize that you can achieve things that once seemed impossible. Looking back, I understand that the secret was not a special app, a magic book, or a quick trick. The secret was simple. Practice every day. Listen every day. Speak without fear. Learn from mistakes. Never give up. If you are watching this video and you are still struggling with English, I want you to remember one thing. You don't need to become fluent in 1 week or 1 month. You just need to take one small step every day. Your English journey may be difficult at the beginning, but every word you learn, every sentence you practice, and every mistake you make is moving you closer to your goal. 5 months ago, I was a beginner with a dream. Today, I am still learning, but I am much better than before. And your story can also change. Start today. Keep practicing. Believe in yourself, because one day you will look back and say, I am proud that I never gave up. Thank you for watching Speak Better Daily. Keep learning, keep speaking, and keep improving your English every day.